We're live. Hello. It is so good to be with you. I'm Rachel Archelaus, founder of the Intuitive Art Academy. This is Carrie Roldan. She is a business BFF. She is a group mastermind genius, I dare say, and she would probably agree. And she's our certification coach. So I am just so happy to be here with you today, guys. I've been looking forward to this. And I feel like this peace and exuberance at the same time. It's a very cool feeling. And Carrie loves showing up and being awesome. So I think we're going to have a good time. I can already feel it. So today we're going to talk about aliveness, becoming more alive. And yesterday in my level 2 certification class, a lot of people think that in order to achieve their dreams, they need to become a better person. They need to be different than how they are now. And that's just not the truth. It's not the truth. It's not the truth. But in my experience, it requires you to be more of yourself. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about. You know, doing this, becoming more alive, being more you, is about allowing those dreams that you have to be true in your life. And that's exciting. So Carrie, I just sprung this topic on her. So what's coming up for you?
Well, the perfection of all of it, of course. So, one, you just said something that hit on like my generic Carrie go-to about strengths and weaknesses, right? So this whole idea of aliveness is really about living in your strengths, which is about doing more of what you were put on this planet to do, which is more about just being who you freaking are. It's about what Intimate Alien says, right? Do only what you love. Or I follow Yoga with Adrienne on YouTube, and she's always find what feels good, right? Like, that's it. That's it. That's it. And I was in a bit of a, I don't know, for the past like little while, I've been in a situation where I was taking on a lot of things that I didn't necessarily love, but that I thought that I wanted to do because I was in love with what I wanted the end result to be. Like I was really committed to this the vision of the overall project, and kind of looking around and being like, well, who's doing this? Well, what, like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to run with it. And I was finding myself depleted. And so if you guys have never heard my strengths and weaknesses spiel, it's not even mine. It's from an Oprah episode with Marcus Buckingham, who knows how many years ago. But the short version is a strength is something that while you are doing it, you feel fully alive. So it doesn't matter if you're good at it at all. What matters is the doing of it fills you up. And a weakness is something that while you are doing it, it depletes you. So it doesn't matter how great you are at it. If the doing of it depletes you, then you know, oop, time to course correct. And so I was in this place of knowing I need to course correct, but not actually knowing what the course correct was. Like thinking, do I need to drop this? Do I need to, but I don't want to drop it. Like, I was just sort of in this place of total recognition. I'm doing some things that deplete me, but not really recognizing, well, is it this that's depleting me, or is it too much of that? Do I love that? Like, I was in this place of, I love the work that I do. I love the people that I work with. I'm good at this and find satisfaction in it. But I was kind of like, well, I don't really know what depletes me. What I recognized this week, and I know, Rachel, you had a week kind of like this, is one of the things that I love doing in my life, in my business, is facilitating small groups. Like, I love it. I love it so much. I love taking a group of strangers and quickly turning them into teammates, quickly turning them into like each other's ride or die. And I had an opportunity to do that 3 times this week. And I've been on cloud 9. My life is going amazingly. Like, Rachel asked me, how was your week or how's your day? I was like, oh my gosh, so good. And the real only big difference between this week and any other week is that 3 times this week, like most weeks I get to do that once, maybe twice. But 3 times this week. And I think that I really love doing it for the first time, like with a brand new group of people. So 3 times this week I had brand new groups. And it just changed everything. Like I feel so alive, so full of myself because I got to do that. And what it helped me do, and the point of maybe this whole story, is it helped me once I spent some time in what really makes me feel fully alive. I was quickly able to discern, oh, that's what I need to let go of. Oh, yeah, that's like I was a little bit too attached to the vision and all the pieces. But once I got to really spend time in my aliveness, I was able to quickly to discern, oh, these are the things I'm letting go of right now. That was a long story.
Yeah, but I love it because oftentimes we don't know how to fix feeling stagnant or stuck or just a little blasé, right? Like we should feel great. We're very privileged. We have food in our cabinets, right? We have a roof over our heads. Why do we feel so lackluster? And I just love how you were put in a position where you got to experience, oh yeah, this is how I want to feel, and this is what I love doing, and that doesn't feel like that, so that gets to go. And I know oftentimes the aliveness can creep into my life by following a very small curiosity or a very small knowing. I met someone who works at my coffee shop, and I just kind of knew like there's something that's going to evolve from that. I didn't know what, I didn't know why. And then I realized a couple months later, actually, like, oh, they are a creative, and I've been thinking about hiring someone, something that they do. That's why I got that feeling. And then coming forward with that, like notifying them, asking them if they're available, like building the conversation, like that whole thing came from me taking a small action, an action that I didn't know where it would go, you know? So I know this happened to you too. Like you had a knowing about someone who might be on your team, and like it didn't look like it was going to happen, but you still had the knowing. And, you know, these little insignificant things like wanting to watch makeup videos on YouTube, wanting to watch all the van content I could. I had no purpose for doing so many of the things I've done in my life, but I'm being brought to a place, let's just say filmmaking. I never, ever, 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 ever thought I would be in a place of like, I'm a filmmaker. But, and not even last year when I was studying screenwriting, I'm like, oh no, now I'm a screenwriter. But now I'm realizing, oh, I can make my own stuff, and it's a lot easier and it's more fun. And I get to, all the things I've been envisioning actually work with that. That's where I've been going. That's the kind of stuff that really happens when you follow those tiny little curiosities and nudges. Because if I knew like, oh, Rachel, just go over there, go over to the filmmaker pile where all those people are, I'd be like, no, like that's not for me. I don't know what you're talking about. And it's very strange. It's a very strange thing. But what I can say is like when you follow all those things, you get to that place and you feel more of you. You feel like, oh, this really makes sense. I feel really settled here. I feel really confident here, even though I have no idea what I'm doing or talking about. I have no reason to feel confident, but this is where I feel confident. And just one more thing. It reminds me of when I was in high school. I was clinically depressed on medication, like excused from any public speaking, walked out of school at noon a lot of the times because I couldn't handle it. I was in a really, really, really bad place. And yet there was an opportunity to go to like art school for half the day, and I had to have an audition. Basically, I had to bring my stuff in and I had to present it to a couple of people. Now, mind you, this is impossible. I cannot do this. There is no way that I can handle this. And yet, the moment I put my stuff down on the table and I started looking at it, I was able to speak and I was able to have a conversation and I was able to be excited about what I was talking about. And so it's like there's these places in our life that go against maybe even who we've been being for a while, where we just click into place and we feel this surge of energy. We feel more alive because we're really aligning with our true selves. And really magical things happen when we can allow ourselves to be led down that path.
I love it. You've never told me that story about getting into the art school, and I can so see that. Like, I obviously didn't know you then, and even when you talk about when you were a budding psychic and how you couldn't look people in the eyes, but I remember when you were doing a reading for me, you said, you know, I put on my glasses and then I would feel like I am aligned and I am there, and I can see and feel that same thing in that moment. Like, okay, I can't talk in front of people, but I can talk about this, and I see that happening a lot I'm in a lot of different like online groups for leaders and entrepreneurs and things like that. And it's a pretty regular question that they ask, what could you speak about for probably because it's a TED Talk type thing. What could you speak about for 15 minutes or 18 minutes or whatever with zero preparation? What could you just go on and on about? And it's so funny because I just answered one of those and I answered, oh, creating a culture of success on your team. Like, oh man, like I could so talk about that for so much. And it wouldn't matter. So this is the bigger thing. This is about aliveness. It wouldn't matter who I was talking to, right? Like I could talk to a group of cross country coaches, or I could talk to a group of like Girl Scout leaders, or I could talk to a group of, CEOs of companies. It wouldn't matter because, and this is going to lead me actually down a little different path, but I think it's really important for our people because the talking about that gets me excited, right? It makes me feel alive. And even better when someone asks a question, right? I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you asked that, right? Instead of like something else where I feel like I got to prepare and I got to be just right. And oh my God, what if they ask that question? How do I make the answer to that question? Right? Like there's an aliveness just in knowing that you're on the path. And I know you're talking about following the small nudges, but I have two things I want to talk about. Which one do I go to? Okay, I'll go to the this following the small nudges. Sometimes those are hard for me to recognize in the moment, right? I feel like I live this intuitive life and I do what my intuition tells me. Like, I believe that I do that. And there is a lot of, like, I don't know, should I or shouldn't I? What's the right move, right? There's still a lot of being in my head that happens. But if I can follow the feeling, like if I can actually just follow, like let go of everything that's going through my head, all logic, and this will go to this story about the runner, and just follow, just find what feels good, right? Like just follow that feeling. Oh my gosh, amazingness happens. So, should I tell that story? Okay, so here's the story. I have not been attached because I have playfully and joyfully and in my aliveness believed that I am building a national caliber cross country team. Like I'm building this amazing cross country team, and it actually doesn't matter who shows up. So I think I told you guys a while ago, like we had some serious hits with COVID, and a lot of the talented runners that we thought were going to be on our team wound up not being on our team for various reasons. And we're accomplishing it anyway, right? Like, I just have a belief, whatever, right? Like, and there was one girl in particular who I have just known, my heart has known, um, that I'm her coach. And um, and I already know, like, the things that I plan to do with her as an athlete fly in the face of what most people would do. Meaning, like, I know the way I'm going to approach her, and it will be different than probably 99 other coaches in my position will do, regardless. So I was so excited for her to be a part of our team and to nurture her and bring her in and all this stuff. And then um, her family moved away. They moved away. And I was really bummed. And I had this weird knowing that I'm her coach. There's nothing to do about that except for to kind of dream about it, right? I'm I'm not gonna be unethical. I'm not gonna like hunt her down. I'm not gonna try, like, her family moved, right? Like, I'm just like, oh, dreaming about it. This is what I would do. I follow her on the various running apps and just like, this is what I would do. Oh, I see that she's doing that. This is what I would do. But also wishing her all the love and success and, like, everything that she wants. Anyways, long story short is it is highly likely that in the next year, I will wind up being her coach. And circumstances have changed that I would never have thought would have changed, right? But I just dreamed into it. I believed it, even though it didn't make any sense, because it felt good to believe it. And um, and now it's happening. And same with, this. I'm using running analogies right now, so I'm just going to go with it. But this group of girls that I have right this red hot minute, like, to believe in June that they would be doing what they're doing now was stupid, right? Like, conventional people would be like, Carrie, good luck with that. But it felt good to believe it, and so I did. And now it's happening. And that's the aliveness, right? And the other thing, sorry, I see Rachel nodding away, but the other thing I want to talk about, Rachel, is this. I just listened to a TED Talk, and it was this woman, and she talked, I can't remember the name of the word she used, but it'll come to me. But she talked about when you're not a one-trick pony, when you're the kind of person that almost fits in, but doesn't quite. So, like, for you, Rachel, to say, I'm a screenwriter, right? Like, that feels really good. But, right? I'm a business owner. Yeah, that feels really good. And, but I'm a psychic. Super true. And it feels alive and aligned. And, but, right? Like, there's just more. And it was talking about those kinds of people and saying, when you are that kind of a person, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a one trick pony. There's nothing wrong with finding your one thing and loving it and doing just that forever and ever. But there's this whole other breed of us who are sort of told you have to grow up into your one thing. You have to become a specialist. You have to find your niche and go deep into that. And that's where you got to live to be successful. And the whole point of this TED Talk was to say, sure, yeah, for some people, but for leaders and for change makers and for, like, people who build movements, they're almost never that. They're people who almost fit in a lot of places and kind of create their own island. And then once their island gets big enough, I don't know why I'm going to switch. She says you turn your island into a boat, but I feel like we turn it into an RV. because you're a van life kind of girl. Anyways, I've been talking for a long time, so I'm gonna see what you have to say about that.
Well, I really like that because it's a good reminder for people. Like, there will always be people willing to tell you what to do and what's best for you. That's not usually where you find your aliveness. And I feel like aliveness comes when you're not focused on an outcome. Aliveness comes when you are aware of how you feel while you're doing something or thinking something. Right? Like, I sometimes, I don't do this very often, but when I get the urge to, it makes me feel incredibly alive. It's when I'm illustrating something or just drawing and I have my music on really loud and I shut my door and I'm dancing around and I'm drawing and it's so much fun. And I probably do it once every 6 months like that, but it feels so right when I'm doing it. And I don't know if anything I draw is going to go anywhere or what, if it's really just about the feeling. Like sometimes do you ever feel like you just need to like drive around in your car and put your music on and sing, right? Like we recognize sometimes when we have the opportunity to feel more alive, when we have that calling, that inner, it's like a primal urge, like I need some release right now. I need this thing. And that can often be where more lives, right? You are a multifaceted, multidimensional being. And no one can tell you what's right for you. That's a feeling in you. And there might be lots of things that are right for you that don't make any sense together, but there might be lots of things that make sense for you that do go together. You just can't see it. That's kind of what's happening to me. I've always been on the hunt for like, if I put everything of mine together, what happens? It doesn't feel right yet. I wanted to, but it doesn't feel right yet. And I also really like how we can continually be surprised by our path, by our higher self's delivery method when we're willing to follow these feelings, because it's like an extra surprise. The feeling itself is incredible and worth living for, feeling that jolt of energy and presence. People can see that. They can see your presence. They know when you're fully with them or fully engaged in what you're doing, like watching a musician on stage and they're really in the song and they're like rocking out. You can tell when someone's painting something and they're fully there and they're with the stroke, they're in their flow, right? That's like what we're talking about. But we don't often know in these moments, like what is coming next. We're just appreciating the feeling in the moment. But if we can do that enough, if we can create a momentum around feeling alive or an interest, even that can get it started, an interest. I want to feel more alive. Then noticing when it's happening and being more aware of the opportunities to feel alive, because then we can choose it. That's, I think, when things really get interesting and opportunities and like people and resources and ideas all come together. And if we can live life like that, I mean, I think for me, that's the ultimate goal, because that's when I know I'm contributing the most, because I'm most here, I'm most present on this planet. That's when I'm contributing the most. And I get that feedback from myself. It's like an instant gift, an instant paycheck, right? And as I go down this path of life and feeling aliveness, it's shocking. I always feel pretty good, usually. But lately I've just felt like a whole cup. Like I feel like this big vessel and there's space in it now. There's much more space. There's more free flowing, more freedom, more expansiveness, more peace. more ease. And it's like these great things keep like swimming through my cup. And I'm like, wow, that's great. And that's great. And that's great. And that's great. And I'm like sitting back and watching all this happen, watching all these things that I want, all the dreams I've been having, all the intuitive art drawings, like this, this is what I want. How do I get there? I'm watching that assemble itself in front of me in a way that I never would have predicted, but it's all right. It's like, yeah, that's exactly it. And that comes from a practice of allowing myself to feel good and doing the things that I want to do, regardless of logic, like Carrie was saying. Some of the things that have contributed to this, not business related, not money related, not relationship related, not anything related, just I felt like doing it in the moment, or I felt like Googling someone, or I felt like asking someone something absurd. And like, I think letting ourselves relax, take the pressure off, take like the goals away for a minute, right? Like just be present with yourself, knowing that you're always taken care of. There's always a higher self looking out for you, arranging your life so that it's like the easiest path to get where you want to go, regardless of where you put yourself vibrationally. That's always happening for you. And like stepping one step at a time with yourself, like bring you to this planet, bring you into your life. And Carrie and we're going on lots of rampages today, but like I will add, I believe it was in the 4-Hour Work Week, but it was definitely Tim Ferriss who said this. He's like, if you want more autonomy, if you want to change your life, start making more decisions. And this really applied to me when I read it. I was always the like, no, it's okay. Yeah, what do you want for dinner? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do today? It's okay. I was like Miss Neutral. Everything's fine for me. I'm happy to please. Like no personality. And that's fine. I was fine for where I was. But when I actually started saying like, oh, you know what? I want a salad tonight, or I am going to go to the store and I'm going to get this thing that I want, or I'm going to go this way on my walk instead, or I'm going to drive this way, even though we normally drive this way. That ignites something in you. It's like it starts a momentum of you choosing what you want, even in the smallest ways. So if you're feeling a little stagnant right now, even just doing that, like, what do I want for breakfast today? What shirt, instead of just grabbing this, what actually do I want to wear today? That little stuff can help move your direction to where you want it to go.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that so much. I'd never heard that said that way. I've always used it as if you want to change your life, like make the changes, And I love that that's like so much simpler. I remember, so it's the same basic tenet, but I remember I was a senior in high school. I was on my way to a track meet. My mom is not a runner, knows nothing about running. And I was talking to her in the car, and I was saying, like, I was describing the feeling that my clients often describe. Like, I know I'm ready. I feel like I'm good. Like, I can run with these girls. Like, I was feeling my own potential. And I know we've all done this. Like, you feel your own greatness. The way I'd often describe it is like busting at the seams with potential. In intuitive art, this is my red. It is like you feel your own awesome, your power, this like there's a fervor that goes with it, like this excitement, it's your aliveness. It's the things that like get your juices flowing. But and my red in intuitive art, it requires that you follow inspired action. That if you don't, it leads to anxiety, right? So that color, that like feeling your own potential, what it requires so that it doesn't go to just crazy anxiety is following the nudges, right? Taking the step, making the decision. So anyways, I was describing this feeling to my mom, like, I feel so ready. I know I'm in shape. I know I can run with these girls. And she's like, well, Carrie, it seems to me that if you want to run faster, you have to run faster. And it was like the simplest thing, but it was meaning like if you want to run a faster time, you actually need to run a faster pace. Like that's how it's going to work. And I think that that's what you're saying with like, if you want to change your life, you got to make little changes, right? You got to make decisions. Otherwise, you're stuck in that feeling of potentiality, which goes to anxiety. So even if this little decision is like, I want to take that, I'm going to take the scenic route today, or I'm going to paint my toenails instead of doing my morning meditation, or I'm going to, like, it doesn't really matter. Just what do I feel like right now? I'm going to do that, right? Because then you're flexing the muscle of trusting yourself. And then you get to play the game of being alive and seeing what comes next. And that is the most fun game ever. And I feel like at this point, we need to talk about the aligned up level because that is a chance to play the game with us.
Yeah. But first, I want to share what Luis said. He says, when I crack a joke in a serious environment and lower the pressure, that is when he feels alive. And yeah, and it's like, it's even more than like releasing the pressure. It's like a powerful move. It's a power play. It's like when everyone else is talking about like boring work and you're the one that's like, you know, oh, I painted naked yesterday. Like whatever it is, it's like being the difference. So I really love that. Awesome.
I love
Okay.
it too. Go ahead. Aligned up
Aligned
level.
up
I'm ready.
level. How do you have your life be different? You change where you are vibrationally. You practice being here more. You practice having a bigger capacity to hold your energy on this planet. Gives you a new gravity, a new powerful magnet for attracting circumstances and resources and ideas and things to you. And your outer life changes when your inner life changes. Carrie and I live this stuff. We live for this stuff. And this is what we do at the aligned up level is we give you our tools, we bring you through our meditations. We have assembled a group of people on the same journey where we can talk openly about things and bond and learn from each other. We do a dream casting call with you on, a platform where we can talk to each other. We do coaching together. It is so insanely powerful. It totally changed my life last year when we did it. Like my life, I do this stuff. This is the stuff that makes me feel alive when I talk about it. And spending those days in it totally changed my life. We could not wait to do it again. And so we scheduled another one. And you're invited. Like Carrie and I would do this without you, but you get to be there too. So if you go to aligneduplevel.com, you can check us out. But I want to give you a secret link too. Okay. rachelarchelaus.com/video. Go straight to the page with all the information, with the video Carrie and I made about our face technique for being in the moment, knowing what options you have in your life to make a decision with. Basically everything we're talking about today, about how to do it step by step. So if you want that, go to rachelarchelaus.com/video or aligneduplevel.com. And we cannot wait to see you there. It's April 1st and 2nd. We're doing it in 2 days. We're meeting face to face 2 times with a day of live stream. So it's going to be really powerful and amazing. And we cannot wait. We're so excited.
Agree. I can't wait because I'm ready for it again, right? We will do this with or without you, right? Like this is important in our lives, and in the way that we choose to live our lives, and The last time we did this, honestly, we were thinking about it from a business perspective. Like, what is the one thing that people really need to achieve the life that they want? Like, every marketer out there is trying to sell them this fix or that fix or this thing, but what is the one thing that they really need? What is the difference maker? And we're like, we need to do this because we talk about it all the time. We keep telling people this is the difference maker. Spending time aligned, spending time in the vibration of the life that you want, spending time connecting to the truth of you, to your higher self energy. Like, we would talk and talk and talk about it and be like, dang it, we need to create it. We need to create that space where people can come and do the one thing that really will move the needle forward on their life quickly. And I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and they're like, what's the one thing I need to do to move the needle forward in my business? Is it this thing? Is it that thing? And I'm like, oh, it's this thing. It is the aligned up level, and it is everything that comes from not just taking the time to do that for yourself, but everything is amplified when we do it together. It was so much more powerful than we expected, and we knew how good it was going to be. like we know our own awesome. We are aware of our gifts, and we love living them, and we knocked our own socks off. So I'm super excited to do it again.
Like, I can just talk about my results. I mean, we have a whole group of people who were in the event and who meet with us 3 times a month, and their lives are drastically changing for the better. But just for me, like, I went in there thinking like, yeah, I'm going to do these exercises, but I already know the answers and everything. And I wrote down what my too good to be true life would be, literally. And all of my dreams always come true. Like, I'm just one of those people because this is how I live and this is how that works. But I wrote down my too good to be true, even for me. Like, this would be my ultimate life, my ultimate life. And that is now what is happening. And I am floored, not surprised, honestly, but floored that this is taking shape right now. And I'm also like, my revenue, my personal income has doubled as opposed to last year. So I'm already twice as ahead as I was this time last year, if that makes any sense. But you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not doing anything different. That's the thing. There's no business stuff that's different. It's me. And my personal routine isn't different. What I did was I spent those days with Carrie in that group with all of you, focused for that time, answering the questions, doing that meditations. Like, it's really, really amazing.
It's like so simple but so powerful. And I want to like give you a time frame here. The last time we did this was December. Is that right? Was it December? So the last time we did this was December. We're in it was beginning of December, I think. So December, January, February, right now we're March. So in 4 months, Rachel's like extreme dream, like, and Rachel's a pretty good dreamer. Like, Rachel's too good to be true life, like the dream that a lot of us think maybe 15 years down the road, it may be like, right, happening now. That's the power of focus and alignment and being totally non-resistant. Because one of the things that you live really beautifully, Rachel, is like, if it's meant to happen, it'll come to me. It'll show up. I'm just going to follow the nudges. And it has been so fun to watch things happen, so big, big things, in quotes, happen so quickly. One of the things, Rachel and I love Abraham Hicks, and one of the things Abraham always says is, it's just as easy to create a castle as it is to create a button, right? And it's recognizing these things that we think are big Like, it's really just how much are we willing to allow? And that's the beauty of the aligned up level, is we expand the bigness of what we're able to envision, what we're able to allow. That too good to be true dream suddenly doesn't seem too big or too intangible. Like, it kind of seems like, oh, all right, that's happening for me. Okay. And yeah, I mean, things for me have happened as well. Like, I don't even, I need to go back and look actually, like, what did I write down for my too good to be true vision? I know one of them was a private jet to Hawaii, and that has not yet happened, but the world is now opening up. So I'm excited to see. And I just recognize, I hear myself saying that more and more now, like, oh, so I want to acknowledge the power of that. Like, it went from being like this crazy, like, oh, I mean, wouldn't that be like to travel like a Kardashian? And now I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to be on a private jet to Hawaii. Like, it's starting to feel easy and more natural. But what was definitely happened for me since the aligned up level is I am continuing to live more and more and more into my gifts. And just like I said at the beginning of the call, right? I recognized just today, oh, I really love my life and how I show up in the work that I do. And I'm ready to do more of this and less of that. Right. And that's the stuff. That's the stuff that leads to our too good. Like that, actually, I think about it now. I remember this happened way before the aligned up level. But I remember thinking, like, what if all I did on the business side of things, like literally the only thing I did was lead small group masterminds? And at the time that seemed silly. Like, how could that be all I do? And I'm having the recognition today that is the thing that's taking up more and more of my time, and that I'm on the short path to that being literally all that I do. So awesome.
It is rad. And I just want to say too, like sometimes when I've had a dream, I have immediately been like, well, I don't want to work that hard. I don't want to have to sit at my desk the whole time. I don't want to. And it's like, honestly, though, the times I've had that reaction, I haven't gone there. I've like soothed myself enough to kind of get on the path to that, but I haven't actually ended up there. But I'm in a place right now where I'm seeing a similar role, like owner, manager of a new kind of company than I have right now, and like just as complicated as what I envisioned in the other place. But there's peace here. There isn't worry here. Like seeing what I would be stepping into, what I'm assuming right now. I mean, it's already happened. I'm already doing it. It just like it would just continue to grow, honestly. Like there isn't worry. There's happiness. There's like overflowing joy. And so I just want to say, like, if you have a dream, first of all, that might not be where you end up. And especially if you're resistant to it, try to understand that that's just like a projection, that you think this comes with that. Like Carrie is famous for saying, I want this, but I don't want that part of it. Right. And like we all do that in our minds. Like, I want this, but I don't want that. So I can't have that. Right. We just cross it off, big X there. But really, when you are living in the moment, following your intuition, your nudges, your curiosities, you will be led to a place that feels great. So whatever you're assuming, whatever responsibilities come with where you're going, you will be able to like happily handle that or delegate that or whatever. Like the resources will be there so that it is a whole package of what you want. And that can be really comforting.
That is really comforting. That's, oh, yes. I am learning. Well, I feel like I've gotten so much better at I want, but I don't want. I became aware of it in myself when I would see it in my children. What it caused was indecision. I, I want to eat ice cream, but I don't want a tummy ache, right? Or I want, right? Like recognizing, I was like, which is, what should I do? I want this, but I don't want that. Well, if you want it, then do this, but I don't want that, then don't do it. But I really, right? There was like, it was that space, exactly what you started talking about earlier. Just make more decisions. Just pick one. Like, it actually doesn't matter. Just pick something. What would feel better now? What would feel good now? I feel like there's something else that wants to be said. I'm going to yawn now. Okay. It is this. I say this all the time, so I feel like I'm being redundant. But if you are watching in this moment and you've never heard it, this is what you need to hear. If something lights you up, the thought of ice cream, unless you said it lights you up, then it's meant for you, or you are meant for it. It's because you are that. If it is lighting you up, you are resonating with it, and you're meant to go in that direction. Period. Like, end of sentence. Not, and it's going to be hard, but don't worry, persevere, you'll get there. And like, no, just, if you lean into it, take the step and see where it goes. Rachel just told me a beautiful story of, and Rachel uses this method a lot, and we'll talk about this method in the aligned up level as well. But like, she's like got something going on in her life that feels good. And I've watched you do this so many times, Rachel. And I was like, but what about this? And do you, is that what you want to do? And she's like, well, I just keep checking in, and it's the right thing for now. Like, I was looking down the road, like, do you really, right? I was projecting it's going to come with that. And she's like, well, it's the right thing for now. I'm just going to keep asking myself, does it feel good? Is it the right thing for now? And if it stops feeling good, then I'll know I'm done going down that path, right? Time to head down a different path. And it's such an inspiring thing to watch, and an important thing to remember. Even if a path like ends or detours, or you're checking in and it feels good and it feels good, it feels good, and then suddenly it doesn't mean push harder. It means you got what you needed from that, and now you're being redirected.
Wow. And I just want to share that you will think that what you really want is impossible. Probably. I've heard Carrie, it's like she really wants something specific to happen in her life. And to her, there are so many hurdles and blocks, and like, I don't want to, and this, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. Like, but luckily, she's not the whole equation of what happens in her life. Her higher self has assembled a path of least resistance so that she doesn't have to confront all of those things all at once, and that she can walk the path to get to where she wants to go, even with all that stuff going. But what that usually means is that you don't know where you're going. Because if you knew, you'd throw the X up there. You'd turn around. You'd park the car, right? Like, thinking about my story right now, my too good to be true, something I would have been like embarrassed to even say would be a possibility. Like, and for no reason, anyone would say like, oh yeah, people do that all the time. That's a thing. People make money doing that. That's a company. But I would have been like, oh God, like that, if I could get away with that, whoa. And there were a lot of things I would have put my ex up about, like, just fact. I wouldn't be here having this space and freedom and joy and love and abundance if I knew where I was going. So I didn't. I did not know where I was going. I knew what I wanted, but it didn't look like this. But this is it. This feels exceptional. And thank goodness I didn't know the whole picture. But what that means is it can be confusing. Why do I want this? Why am I spending so much time here? What is so like Carrie was saying, and she's watching me like move forward with this thing. I'm like, yeah, feels good for now, feels good for now, feels good for now. If you can embody that kind of philosophy, just checking in with yourself, like your feedback system here, if you can trust yourself, it feels good. Like Carrie was saying, it's an absolute yes. That is the way to really get to where you want to go with the least amount of hassle and fight and hustle and all that stuff, because it's waiting for you. Whatever you want is that easy to create for your higher self. Like it's been assembled, it's ready for you, it's ready to go. And your only job is to find your best feeling place and to follow that as best you can without beating up on yourself, because life is a crapshoot and things are going to happen. But yeah, it's a mystery. It's fun. It's exciting. There's opportunities to feel ways you never thought you could feel, to have the things you never thought you could have, or never thought you deserved, maybe. Like, this is real. This is so real. And you are here. You are a multidimensional being in a body right now. And this is what you're meant to experience. Especially if you're listening to us. If you're here, gosh darn it, like this is for you. So yeah, love, love, love.
You know what I was thinking, Rachel, is like, I feel like if you're here with us, oh my God, join us at the aligned up level. Like, just come. Just come. You'll thank us later. You'll be 4 months down the road telling these like incredible stories. But number two, when you were talking about being able to trust yourself, right? Like and it is, you do, like, I am so much better at it now than I was 5 years ago. Like, I am so much less in my head than I was 5 years ago. And as Rachel can attest, and I will raise my hand and admit, I am often still in my head, right? Rachel too, she's raising her hand. So it's not like we live in as much ease as humanly possible, and we're humans. um, but what struck me when you were talking about that is I want to remind you that there is an area of your life where you do trust yourself, right? So there's this thing that you think that there's this great big dream that you're like almost embarrassed to say out loud because it sounds like too good to be true, right, Rachel? And yet, I happen to know Rachel's dream. And had she told me that dream 5 years ago, I would have been like, oh, yeah, I can totally see you doing that. Right. It was only her, not even like, oh, that's a real thing that other people do. But like, oh, for sure, Rachel, that's totally for you. Like, I would have said that to her way if she had felt brave enough to say it years ago. Right. Like, the external world would have validated her in it. It's always just our own stuff. What you talked about, worthiness, just not being in alignment with our truth. And there's an area of your life where you already trust yourself, right? So maybe you're like terrified to trust yourself when it comes to what you perceive as your big dream. But man, you trust yourself in the kitchen. You can whip up something amazing, or you trust yourself. Like for me, I trust myself to facilitate a small group without preparing at all, right? Like I'm cool in that. Like I know I can handle that, right? There's an area of your life where you really trust yourself and where you don't even recognize I'm a genius at that. You're just like, oh, that's not that hard, right? And so what I would suggest for all of you is notice that area of your life where you already trust yourself. I'm yawning again. Take a deep breath there and own that. Own, I'm a genius at that. I'm masterful at that. I'm amazing at that. And then put an and, right? And I could do this too. And I could, because I know I can trust myself in this area and things work out, I can trust myself to trust myself in this area and that area and that area.
Yeah. Life can be really good. Really, really good. And when it started getting good for me, like I'd always had a pretty okay life. Like I'm very lucky to have the parents I have and to have grown up where I grew up, like very privileged in that sense. But at the same time, like I didn't know any of this. I didn't know what I was doing. I had lots of personal issues and money issues and everything. But when I started my business, like when I decided to like do the online thing, especially, is when I started to feel this click of like confidence. When I started to make YouTube videos, even though I was like the most shy person in the whole entire world back then. But it was just talking to like a little dot. I could talk to a dot, and it was a fun way for me to express myself. When that started happening, and I was making all these decisions like in my business, like, oh, I'm gonna write a blog post, I'm gonna make a video, I'm gonna send a newsletter, I'm gonna make a website, I'm gonna do all these fun things. And I started accessing more and more of my own energy. I started experiencing these up levels. I was like, wow. And I had this phrase in my head, like, you don't know how good it can be. You don't know how good it can be until you're there. And then you don't know how good it can be until you're there and there. And I'm experiencing that this week in this moment of like, whoa, I didn't even know this existed, this feeling. But I kept doing the things that brought me up and up and up and up. And it wasn't even a conscious choice. I didn't know I was doing those things to go here. I didn't know this existed. How could I have known? So doing, like, making the decisions, doing the things that are, naturally you wanting to do, making time for yourself in your life, they are miraculous building blocks where it's hard to imagine that they lead to anywhere because it feels so natural in the moment. Like, I'm just going to take the scenic route. I'm just going to call this person. All of those little things are what changes your life and brings you to those new places. And then luckily you can like systematize the aligning of yourself to put yourself in those places, to make the intuition louder, to give yourself more trust to follow everything. Like that absolutely can be taught, and that is what we teach at the aligned up level. So you're invited. I would love for you to be there. We're out of time, but this has been fantastic. And let us know, like, what is this like for you in your life? Where have you gone with this? Have you gotten to a place where you didn't know it could be this good? Or are you waiting to find the pathway for that? Like, I would love to know. Let us know.
Me too. I totally want to know. And the biggest reason that I want to know is because one of the things that makes me feel most fully alive is fully investing in your vision. Like being like it was so funny. I don't know how long ago it was. At the time someone was like, envision yourself, Carrie. I don't know if they were making me see my inner self or whatever it was, that they were like, close your eyes and, get into you and like see the essence of you. And I saw this little like stick figure version of me just running alongside people, like being this like run alongside and cheer kind of person. So it's great because that is physically what I often do in my life, but also like what I just live to do energetically. Like if you have a dream, I am all about believing in it with you and for you and just like putting all the juiciness into it. So I'm not telling you this like for you. I'm telling you this for me. Like it feels amazing when you tell me your dream and then I get to like take it and run with it. So tell us, tell us what you're creating and what you want more of, because I want to get all up in there and get excited for you.
Yes, I love that. Oh my gosh, this was so much fun. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thanks for watching the replay. We love you. And here's to becoming more alive. Cheers. We'll talk to you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.